Is there an aspect of your business that you never think about because you're doing things the way you've always done them? Even if it's something that everybody hates, you never think to change it because that's just the way things are, the way things have always been. I had a situation like that, and when the team challenged me on why we still did this thing that everybody hated, I had to really stop and think. And it felt like a risky and radical change to our way of working. In my 30 years of running an electrical contracting business, I've found myself in this situation a few times, but the one that stands out is when we scrapped our after-hours on-call service that we've been doing for more than 20 years. In one of our regular weekly team meetings on a Tuesday morning, I asked everybody if they had any complaints about the business, what was frustrating them, what was bugging them. Someone raised again the issue they were sick of being on call. It was too disruptive to their private lives, even if they never got a call out. Just having to be available was a real pain. Of course, everyone agreed. It was no surprise to me because it had been a bit of a bone of contention for a while, but they were more fired up about the situation this time than I expected. And I'd been talking about our team vision in these meetings for a few months by then, and the vision was, this business exists to benefit all of us who work in it together. My aim was to create a business that gave us all more fun, more flexibility, and more financial rewards. Having to be on call every few weeks was definitely restricting my team's flexibility, but the on-call system seemed like an immovable part of the business. We had clients who'd relied on us for decades. Surely we couldn't just scrap it, so I didn't make any promises in that meeting other than to let them all know I'd heard their concerns and would think about how we could proceed. The first thing I did was make a list of all the clients who might be affected. Now, many years ago, we did a lot of work for one of the major supermarket chains. We had about 6 supermarkets with bakeries that started at 2 a.m, chicken ovens that worked all weekend, all sorts of 24/7 problems. But we didn't do that work anymore. I sacked them as a client when they got too difficult to deal with. We also worked for about 8 different real estate agents at one time doing rental property maintenance. But with business mergers, owners' deaths and sales to other agents, we found ourselves with very little of that work, which turned out to be a good thing. I might do a video about that. So we only had a small number of clients now that might be affected if we stopped doing call-outs. And I had a look at the financial impact on the business, and I discovered that the costs of providing the on-call service exceeded the revenue that it brought in. We were losing about $7,000 a year and making the team grumpy at the same time. And the after-hours call-outs that we got from people who weren't our regular clients, well, they turned out to be the biggest source of disputed bills and bad debts. So I made the decision that we would suspend our after-hours call-out service, and I announced it in the next team meeting. Everyone was very happy, and it was a huge positive step in building the team culture and demonstrating my commitment to looking after the team. You can't just talk about how great things could be, you have to take actions that reinforce the message. And for your team to raise these issues in the first place, they need to feel that it's safe for them to do so. Of course, we still had the occasional weekend call from clients, and they were dealt with by myself and my brother Steve, and often the crisis could wait until Monday, or we could do a ring around and see if anyone was free to go, but with no obligation. Really, what seemed like an impossible thing to do when it was first suggested was actually fairly easy to manage and provided great benefits to the business. What do you think? Are there areas in your business where you're just doing things because that's the way you've always done them? Let me know in the comments. And if you want me to answer a question about running a team of tradies in a contracting business, then send me an email using the link in the description below. And as always, thank you very much for listening.